Right, I'm about to go and do my first ever bike review, because apparently I'm a big deal on YouTube now and people send me bikes. So no, it's not on my bike, on my KTM 990. It's on a bike that since it's been delivered to me, I've taken a lot of care and attention over. I've really looked after it, and I've stuck it in my garage and propped a mop up against it. And I should probably move that stuff and go and do a bike review. So let's do it. Let's get outside, go riding for the day, see what I think of this Sinnis, move the mop, Sinnis Terrain 125. 125. Feel the power. Right, let's get to it then. So, as with all my reviews, cards on the table, I don't work for Sinnis. They sent me this bike, I haven't paid anything for it. I've paid to put my own fuel in it. I'm not getting paid for this video, so it will be an honest review. If I think it's good, I'll tell you if it's good. If I think it's not so good, I'll probably tell you that as well. So who are this brand then? Who is Sinnis? Well, I'll be honest, I'd heard of them before they contacted me, but I just heard of them. I didn't know much about them, so I've done a bit of research. They're Brighton based in the UK that is, but these motorcycles, they say on their website, a lot of the bits for these bikes are made, and I quote, in the Far East. Now don't let that put you off. I suppose we could say this is a Chinese bike, as we call them, but the factory that this is made from, well, the factories, the bits for this bike are made from, they're going to supply all the major brands as well. So, all those big brands you've heard of, that get their parts from that part of the world, well, it's the same factory. So I watched a couple of bike review videos before doing this one, just to see what's normally covered. And if I'm completely honest, I found a few of them a little bit boring. So here's what I'm going to do. The three categories are going to be, does it look good? I missed my own thumb. Does it look good? Is it built good? Does it ride good? All proper grammar. Just stick with me, people. This will be a fun video, I hope. Anyway, let's start with, does it look good?
And my answer to that is yes. I think the styling on this bike is great, and no matter what angle you look at it, the Terrain manages to look like a much beefier bike than it actually is. Now, this particular bike happens to be missing the front mudguard, so excuse the bare look and empty bolt holes, but even with this nudity, for me, I was a big fan of just how aggressive and adventure looking this bike is. This black edition is very well colour coded, with bits like the engine casing, crash protection and swing arm all sticking with the theme, and the limited graphics do a good job at showing what this bike is made for. Adventure.
And there you go, you heard all my points in the voiceover, and just to summarise, I think this bike looks cool, and I'd be happy, well I am happy, to be seen riding around on it. Enough talk about what it looks like, because that's all just my opinion. You'll make your own opinion. Let's get on it now, go for another spin, and the next time I stop, we'll talk about if it is built good. Just before I set off, I meant to say actually, I like the lights, because I'm a bit of a magpie, so, looks quite nice on the front. And listen to this, punchy. The lights in the back, that looks pretty cool, doesn't it? It's a nicely styled bike. Right, let's go for a spin. Is this bike going to get up this hill? We'll find out.
My first bit of trail riding was this hill, which can often be a bit tricky in the damp. This wee little 125 needed working a little to make it up, and it did sound a bit like a hairdryer whilst doing so, but the main point is that it didn't really have any dramas, unless they were my lack of talent, of course.
Up we go. Question 2 then, or point 2, as I said, is it built good? I should have probably not got it covered in mud before I did this bit. That's a point for next time. So what I like about it so far? Well, the electrics seem pretty good. Yes, I've not ridden it for very far, I get that. But one of these bikes has been to Mongolia and back. In fact, I think 2 of them, and they didn't have many dramas from what I hear. The electronics seem pretty good. So all the switches are nice and solid. I mean, you've got 4 ways, all the normal stuff, high beam, low beam, horn. The dash is nice and clear. It's got a nice blue backlight. It's really easy to read. It's only got like Odo and Trip on there, but this isn't an expensive bike, so you're not going to get all the wizardry that you get if you, as an example, spent thousands of pounds on a brand new GS. Having had a look around the bike then, it looks solid. It looks like they've thought about this bike and it's been well designed. Before I get into all the statistics, I mean, little things that are quite nice. You've got these panniers. Now, hang on, wait one cooler. The panniers. 66.5 litres of luggage in these panniers, and they're very well mounted to the bike. When I say very well mounted, they're bolted on. So if you want to remove these quickly, you can't. They are bolted on. You're going to need to get your spanner out to get them off the bike. Right, let's get into all the geeky statistics then. Geeky statistics. So this bike is 3,599. Well, the normal edition is. I'm not sure about the black edition. I couldn't find the exact price, but it's 3,599 in pounds, and it always says plus OTR, which is on the road. And Sinnis themselves say that's things like, you know, getting it taxed, getting the vehicle registered, and they say on the website add about £100 on for the on-the-road bit. Some more geeky statistics. So liquid cooled engine, as you'd expect nowadays. It's got a rad on the front. It's a 12.7 brake horsepower engine, and it delivers 10.5 Newton meters of torque. I'll show you some other bike statistics so you can compare exactly what 12.7 horsepower and 10.5 Newton meters, how that compares to other bikes. It's got a 14 litre fuel tank. Now I filled it up right at the beginning of this video, and at the end I'll fill it up again. We'll see how much it's used, how many miles I've done, and I plan to do a bit of on-road, off-road and motorway to try and make it combined, if you like. Chain drive, 6-speed box, and what I have noticed actually is the gearbox is very smooth, it's lovely, and the 6th gear is an overdrive gear, what I call an overdrive gear. So 1 to 5 seems pretty normal, 1's quite short, 2 to 5 pretty normal. That 6th gear, if you knock it into 6th, if there's any form of hill, you ain't getting up it very quickly, you have to go back down to 5th, so it's like a cruisy motorway gear. Fuel injection, 17-inch tubeless tyres. Now this bike's got TKC 80 tyres on it. This is the black edition, and they have said they've fitted knobblies to it for my benefit because they know that I'm an idiot that rides around in the dirt. Right, curb weight, this is one for you. This is a 125cc bike. It weighs 162 kilograms. My 990 weighs about 200 kilograms. So this to me seems fairly heavy for what is a small bike, but it is covered in crash bars, covered in really good protection, so you know that's going to add a bit of weight, and you've got panniers on it. However, when riding it, you don't really notice the weight. It's a little bike, you just sort of manhandle it and it's fine. And then last bit of geeky knowledge, if you care, it's got 158mm ground clearance. Means nothing to me. There you go. Anyway, enough chat on how it's built. I think it's a pretty solid bike. I mean, there's a very short review, isn't it? I'm riding it, I've got it for 2 weeks. I'm gonna ride it basically for today. So it's not gonna rust in that time, is it? It's probably not gonna fall apart in that time. So longevity, I don't know. However, let's move on to point 3. Does it ride good? That's the main point. You know what, before we set off, let me show you these panniers so you can see what's in them. Because, you know, an adventure bike needs some panniers. Let's have a look. So the way you undo them, key to unlock, 2 little clips. You can see that locks into the key. There is your right hand pannier, not the biggest because of the exhaust which is in the way. On the other side then, just to compare, quite a big pannier. Just got my jacket in because I got really hot, so there's plenty of room in there though. If it was me, I'd put a dry bag in that I could drag out and take with me, seeing as these panniers are all bolted onto the bike, because you ain't going to be doing that, are you, when you get to your hotel. So there's that one. I don't know how waterproof these panniers are, by the way. They're not wet, that stuff's not wet. I've been through a few puddles. The top box then, the main one, again, unlock, and let's see what's in here. Look, Ollie Moto merch. If only there was a way that you could buy this merch to support my channel, that'd be handy, wouldn't it? That'd be handy. You could get a hat, you could get a bobble hat, you could get, what's that, a neck buff? God, that's cool. No, but seriously, you don't have to buy my merch. If you do, I'll just think you're a legend. Come on then, let's get moving. Feel the power. That's not handy, is it? What's happened? Right, there we go. I think if this is in first gear with the side stand down, it cuts out. There we go. Got a side stand switch. So if you've got this in gear with a side stand down, it will not run. Lesson learned, Ollie. At least you didn't look silly on camera.
Time to hit the trails then, and having only really done one chalky hill climb until now, it was time to throw the bike around and see what it was capable of. Now I made sure to ride a bit of everything, including some faster stuff, some muddy stuff, some rocky stuff, and rode through every puddle I could find. And I also made sure to hit the bumps to get a good feel for how the terrain suspension coped with some proper trail riding.
Can I remove the foot pegs? Because that's about the 8th time I've fallen off of that rubber. Do they come out easy enough? Yep. There we go. Should have done that earlier. Keep falling off of this one. which is a bloody nightmare. Removable rubber foot pegs. Where should I put them? Let's crack on. Go do some more riding and not lose my footing every time I hit a bump. Hi ho, Silver! That's better. Should have done that earlier.
Up until this point in the video, I'd done some, but not a lot of laning, so it was time to stop stopping and chatting and go and sling a bit more mud around to see if I could actually recommend using this bike for your future adventures.
Beautiful, isn't it?
We be faster than Jacob. Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop.
One thing I do want to highlight on this bike is the turning circle, which is incredible. Now let me just put the bike on, feel the power. Watch this, look, full lock. I'm in a bit of sand, so bear with it, but look at this, look. How small this circle is. Tiny turning circle, which is excellent. And also, if I just jump off, it's really easy to move around it. You've got lots to grab onto. And if you want to spin this bike around, I mean, just look at the lock on that. Absolute doddle. And there you go, that is off-roading done. Now, to make this review fair, I've done road and off-road. I need to do a bit of motorway really, don't I? And the motorway is there. So I'm going to take the motorway home just so we can get an accurate fuelage as well for a combined fuelage. Now, I'm not going to lie, this is the bit I'm least looking forward to because this bike, so far, I've got it to 52 miles an hour tops. So I think I'm going to be reliving my youth, getting overtaken by lorries and screaming in my helmet. But anyway, we'll do that, get back home, and then we'll summarise.
Okay, so let's summarise what I think of this 125 Sinnis Terrain thing then. And I'm going to be honest, it's not immediately after the event. As you can see, I'm editing the video that you've just watched to see what rubbish I spoke, to see what I need to summarise in the video. Okay, so overall then, I had a very positive experience with this bike, if I'm honest. I only rode it for one day, I haven't ridden it for a massive adventure, but in that one day, I really liked it. So what was good and what was not so good then? So the good bits for me are the styling of the bike. It looks like a much beefier bike than it is. So if you're out on your adventures, it does look like quite a decent bike. The riding was all very enjoyable. It held its own on the road. I say held its own, you know, it's a 125 bike, so it's not the quickest, but it was fine on the road. On the motorway, you know, I'd like it to be a bit quicker, but it is a 125cc bike and I'm used to riding big bikes, but it was all fine. But where it really shone was off-road. And I've not got much to say about the off-road, which is a good thing. The riding position felt good, the suspension felt good, it wasn't too hard, wasn't too soft, like the bike handled really well. Once I've taken those rubber foot pegs out,
nightmare.
Then it all felt nice and comfortable and I wasn't slipping off the peg anymore. But the only thing I really want to mention, if you like, is that 17-inch front wheel. Now, for me personally, it danced around a little bit more than I'm used to, but I think that's just because I'm used to a 21-inch wheel on my 990 that's quite planted and solid, whereas this one like to move around a little bit, but as soon as I got used to it, then I didn't really notice it. So I'm probably making a big deal out of nothing, but it's just one to mention. What was in the not so good camp then? When I was out riding, I had the engine management light come on. And now it came on for about an hour and a half. I thought I might have to cancel my riding because I wasn't sure what was up with the bike. It's worth noting, it didn't change any of the power delivery, but when you're reviewing someone else's bike and the engine management light's coming on, I'm thinking, I probably shouldn't carry on. But it did go out, and when I subsequently got communication from Sinnis, they said that as long as it's not on for more than a day, then that's fine. Now, I don't know if that's an acceptable answer. If I own this bike and the light kept coming on and off, but their answer was, as long as it's not on for a day, that's okay. It doesn't really feel right. But I don't know if Sinnis can comment on this video, put a bit more meat on the bones, because like I said, it didn't affect the handling, i.e. it didn't like change any of the power delivery. It did go out and they've said it's fine. One more thing to mention in the not so good, I suppose, is that weight. So it's 162 kilograms, which seemed mentally heavy for such a small bike, considering bigger bikes are only up at like 200. Now, just to reiterate, I never noticed the weight while I was riding. I am used to riding big heavy bikes. I didn't notice the weight on this. It felt light to me, and it was really easy to handle, you know, that really good steering lock. So I haven't really got it as a complaint myself, but on paper, 162 kilos is quite a lot for a 125cc bike. And one more thing I'm going to mention in this section, which I never personally noticed, some other reviews I've watched go on about the combined braking. So on this bike, if you put on the front brake, apparently it adds a bit of rear brake for you. I tried to get it to be a problem. I didn't even notice it, if I'm honest. I said I haven't noticed a lot of things. I think maybe I just don't notice a lot of stuff in life, but it didn't cause me any dramas. I slammed on the front while I was riding in the dirt. I didn't, you know, the back felt stable, the bike felt fine. So either I don't care enough, or some people care too much, or maybe there's a happy medium, but it wasn't a problem for me. Now, two last things to cover. One is the fuel. I said I was going to do a miles per gallon, sort of let you know how much I've used. Actually, I think my numbers are skewed. It came out for me at 115 miles per gallon, but I didn't ride it very fast or very far. I was stopping a lot to film, so I don't think that's a fair fuel number for you to hang your hat on, because it seems ridiculously high. And the last thing I want to talk about is the fact that I've called this the only dedicated 125cc adventure bike, which I said at the beginning. Now, having done a bit more research on the old computer, that's not technically true, and I should have probably done that before I start the video. But there are some other bikes out there. So I did know about the Honda Varadero 125. My good friend Rory, little Rory, son of Simon, he rides one of those, and he rides it quite hard. But I would say that that seems more like an adventure-y bike, that he's made more adventure, whereas this Sinnis bike seems much more adventure focused. And if you do a bit of Googling, they keep going on about this Derby Terrain Adventure 125. I've never heard of it before. It comes up on a lot of searches. Maybe one for you to have a look at if you're gonna buy a bike in this market. And that's it. Just to summarise all of my waffle in this whole video, I really like this bike. If I was going to buy a 125cc designated adventure bike, then this would be something I'm seriously looking at purchasing. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you found this remotely useful and maybe a little bit interesting. I'll see you for the next one. Cheers.